What's happening, Elevation Nation? We're back with another episode. Today, we have the co-founder of Throne, Scott Hickle, joining us from Austin, Texas. Sam and I have been waiting a long time for this podcast. We're super excited. I'll let Scott talk a little bit more about what he's doing and his very unique product and mission that he has. Sam was saying he's going to nerd out this entire time. I'm going to nerd out, and Elevation Nation, nerd out with us because this is going to be a fun one, an exciting one. Scott, what's going on, brother? Welcome to Elevation Nation.
Parker, Sam, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm Scott, co-founder and CEO of Throne. As you mentioned, we're building the first device to track gut health, urinary function, bathroom habits, and hydration from the toilet, hands-free, automatically every time you go. It's like a wearable device for your toilet that tracks what's happening inside your body. So you can think of it Whoop for your poop or for your flora.
Amazing taglines, obviously. I love what you're doing with the product, and we're going to get into Throne, of course, throughout the episode. But Scott, I want to talk about you as a person. You got to meet Parker and not me yet, so I only heard through the grapevine how incredible you are. So this is Elevation Nation. We want to give you the opportunity. You just gave us an elevator pitch on Throne, but I'd love an elevator pitch for Scott as an individual and a human. Who are you, man?
That's a great question. Right now, my identity is Throne, right? Like you gotta, when you're building something like this, you dedicate your whole life to it. And like, really, I do wear this as a jacket, it's my second skin. But who I am, I'm trying to be, positive, uplifting, grateful. I've got my little gratitude journal right here. My one religious practice is I write in this every single day. I was born and raised in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and I like to believe I'm just one of the luckiest human beings on the face of the planet. I got not one, but two loving families. Like, come on, how sick is that? I've got, 8 siblings. Didn't get into the schools I applied to undergrad. Instead, I ended up getting to go to the University of Texas, which was the best thing that ever happened to me. I studied mechanical engineering after changing degrees twice. I interned at SpaceX and decided I did not want to be an engineer. And then I went into startups. And that's what I've been doing for most of the last decade of my life, is just working in startups. So, in hindsight, uh, I chose very little about my path. A lot of it was chosen for me, and it all worked out quite beautifully because it all led to doing something like, I was put on this planet to bring this concept into existence and touch a lot of lives. And that is, I take tremendous meaning in that.
Tremendous meaning, purpose. I think we're going to get along, Scott. I think we're going to have a good conversation. First of all, thank you. For giving that background. I think it's super helpful. Thankfulness that you're sharing, obviously the spirit of Thanksgiving being so recent. But I was doing some research, obviously, as all podcasters should, about the person they're going to have a conversation with. And right from the get-go, obviously, LinkedIn says, you are on a mission to save 1 million lives. That's a bold statement right from the get-go. Obviously, I imagine that's through Throne. Maybe it's just through being Scott, or maybe the combination of both will save a bunch of lives. But talk us more through what that means to you.
Yeah, this is through Throne. So Throne is, the device we're launching in February is a health and wellness product that can measure all those things that I talked about. The long-term vision for Throne is to build what we call the smoke detector for colon cancer. So colorectal cancer is the second deadliest cancer in the United States behind lung cancer. About 153,000 people were diagnosed with colorectal cancer last year. Of those diagnosed, a third died from it. So that's insane. And globally, it's close to about 900,000 people dying a year from colorectal cancer. And I sincerely believe that the device we're building and the version of this product that we will have in 5 years will be able to get people into getting the appropriate health care before cancer even begins, when you still have just little polyps. And the amazing thing about this, right, is there are life-saving innovations that save lives in a statistical sense, right? Like someone wearing a seatbelt, they get in a car wreck. You can't say for sure that seatbelt saved their life, right? It's a statistical thing, right? The seatbelts save lives, but like in most car wrecks, you're not going to point to the person and be like, wow, that seatbelt saved your life. Well, in some you definitely can't, right? For Throne, if we send someone if we tell someone, this is the vision state of the product, but if we're able to tell someone, hey, you should go see a doctor because there is a abnormal pattern of bleeding in your stool, and they find a polyp and they get that polyp removed in a colonoscopy, like that 40-minute operation that we sent them to, we can legitimately say, like, we saved your life. Like, there's a very high probability that polyp would have developed into a malignant tumor. And right now, 1 in 3 people diagnosed with that tumor dies from that cancer. And so just looking at the numbers, basically to get to 1 million lives, we would need to save 50,000 lives a year over 20 years. And that is an incredibly aggressive number, but I believe, thrown, it belongs in every toilet in the world. Like, the other number to keep in mind here, right, is like 4% of Americans at current colorectal cancer rates will get colorectal cancer at some point in their lives. That's 1 in 25 people. Like, that probably meant like someone at your Thanksgiving table is getting colorectal cancer at some point in their lives. That's wild to me. And so building this on the smoke detector analogy, if you know, let me put it this way, there's a far higher chance of you dying of colon cancer than dying in a house fire in 2025, right? And so for that reason, I genuinely believe like Throne belongs in every toilet in the world. And it's crazy because like right now it's in, a couple hundred toilets, beta testers. But like where this needs to go, I genuinely believe we could end up in a place where we're saving, 500,000 lives a year in a decade. And so my goal of 1 million lives in my lifetime is ambitious, but like totally doable. And like not only that, that's the world I want to live in.
It's again, when you have a mission that you're so passionate about, Scott, even just hearing you talk about it, it gets me fired up. And this is why Parker and I love meeting incredible elevators like yourself, because we're aligned on our purpose of just trying to make the world a better place. I'll be cheesy, to elevate ourselves and the people around us, right? And so I want to throw it back for a minute because I hear so much of you and ourselves and vice versa. Parker and I first started this to help 2 people, myself and Parker. We were so lost as young people trying to figure out how to navigate this thing called life that we just wanted to talk to other incredible human beings to feel inspired, talk about young men's mindset, mental health struggles that we were having. And I remember telling Parker, we were 22 at the time, dude, if we have one person reach out to us and say, thank you, you helped me through a problem, it will make all these late nights and this grind worth it. And so you're throwing out big numbers, which I totally believe in, but I'll even challenge you, Scott, when and if, and you probably already have, helped one human being, it makes all this hard work so worth it. And it's just incredible. I think the fact that you want to have such a big impact. Of course, Parker and I want to do the same when it comes to young men's mental health and the mindset for young people. And I think if everyone was a little bit more altruistic in realizing that we can make a difference in the world, we certainly would have a better place. And so I'm with you. Let's get a throne in every single toilet in America here. I have many ideas for how we do that. We'll talk offline. But I'm just excited for you. And of course, smoke detector for rectal colon cancer, right? That's a, worst case scenario, bad situation that of course saves lives. I also want to highlight the fact you are saving the quality of life in many people as well, which I don't want to skip over because as a Jewish kid who grew up with stomach problems, I've just accepted the fact that most things I eat will hurt my stomach for time after me eating them. I'm just a Jewish kid. We all have IBS, right? Like that's just how it goes. As I've done more and more research on health and wellness and the food I eat and inflammation in my gut and what things work and what things don't and processed foods and sugars, I've started to be more in tune. And this is where I said I was going to nerd out. And so I want for a second, Scott, to talk a little bit about the technology behind how the hell this even works. And then also how you're helping the quality of life and monitoring of just gut health overall with people.
All right. So love that. Great questions. Thank you for sharing your story. So the device itself, it's literally a toilet camera. So it's a camera that clips onto the side of your toilet. So these little wings hold it in place. You put it on the side of the toilet, and then it's looking down into the toilet bowl. Every time you go, it works. So here's a motion sensor. So when you walk into the bathroom, the motion sensor wakes the device up, and then it pings your Bluetooth. So as long as you have your phone on you, then it'll know like, hey, this is Sam or this is Parker. Once it's identified a known Throne member, then these lights turn on. So the lights stay off until it actually recognizes that this is a known entity. Then it turns on, records what's happening inside the toilet. You get up, you leave. It turns itself off once you leave, and then it all processes in the cloud using computer vision and AI. And so we have a whole host of AI models looking at different qualities of your stool and your urine. So it's looking at stool form on the Bristol stool scale. It's looking at urine osmolality, which is like the estimate of like concentration. That's how we estimate hydration. We measure things like urine flow dynamics. So like how fast you're peeing, your maximum flow rate, your average flow rate, the volume of your hydration. We also look at bathroom habits, so like how long you're sitting on the toilet, which is actually like super highly correlated to hemorrhoid risk. And then we send a report to your phone, 5 minutes after you gotten off the toilet, saying, here's all your metrics, here's how you're looking. But most importantly, here's all the trends, right? So you can see, how you've looked over the past month, week, 6-month time frame, and notice deviations from your baseline, because everyone's body is highly personal and individualized. And what's healthy for you and what's healthy for me might look very different, right? Like the medical literature says that stool frequency is going once or anywhere from once every 3 days to 3 times a day, which is like, that's a crazy delta. And so, and a lot of it has to do with diet. And so our whole thing is, let's get you the ground truth numbers so you can see your health personally. And then to your second question about, how does this help people? Your personal story about growing up and just taking, gut health issues as a sad fact of life is, I think, a very common frustration. And there are definitely, genetic factors to it, but it's also a cultural thing. It's largely, we are eating 60% of our calories from foods that didn't exist 200 years ago, right? Like the human body doesn't evolve that quickly. And finding the foods that upset your stomach is actually really hard, because the gold standard right now is to go on what's called an elimination diet, where you cut back all of your food to basically eating like bland, beige colored foods, right? Like chicken breast without the skin on it and mashed potatoes. And then you slowly reintroduce different food groups or irritant groups from the FODMAP list until something causes you an upset stomach. But you have to like do this like in 2-week intervals, right? So like for 2 weeks, you eat, the bland stuff. Then after 2 weeks, if nothing's upsetting you, then you reintroduce one food group and you try that for 2 weeks. Then you slowly build back up your diet. Problem is that requires like a superhuman level of discipline that most people just don't have, and it's incredibly painful to do that. And it limits, like the crazy thing about such restrictive diets is it limits your social life, right? Like so much of our social lives revolves around eating, and it breaks people. Understandably, it's really hard. And so one of the things I'm most excited about with this health and wellness version of the product is we're building a food logger so that we can correlate your diet to your digestive patterns, and so you can see like, okay, 85% of the time when you have loose or liquid bowel movements, that's associated with cruciferous vegetables or, lactose or gluten, whatever it is. But like, there's this cool screen here. I'll just show you. I love Whoop. I'm a big Whoop user, and I'm biased because my co-founder started Whoop. But there's this great screen that shows this recovery insights. So how different activities impact my recovery score the next day. We're doing this with diet. So we want to show you how different ingredients impact your gut health score. And like, for the 35 million Americans with IBS, that's huge, because right now IBS is not a useful diagnosis, right? Like a doctor diagnoses you with IBS, that's just a description of symptoms. It tells you
And he
nothing
told me
about.
to do what you said, Scott. He said, go on an elimination diet. And I said, dude, I'm a foodie. I love food. Like, I can cut out a couple things. And so much so, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but the story is resonating so much with me, is I did one of those blood tests that, tells me some of the foods that I can or can't eat. And again, I don't know how accurate they were, but that's how desperate I was. I was like, there's got to be something that will help me stop having a stomachache every time I eat. And unfortunately, the blood test came back and said so many foods that I thought were healthy. It said you're not good with chicken breast or turkey and broccoli and avocados. And I was like, bruh, that sounds like my lunch every day. So where do I go from here? And so, sorry, keep going, Scott, but it resonates so much of, we have all these tools from these disparate companies that technology is speeding up. I love it. We're getting more advanced. You now are giving us just another data point that can be combined with your food tracker, with my Whoop or my whatever I'm wearing, to show how much exercise I had that day. Did I sleep well? And AI is only getting more powerful, that we can combine all these different metrics and data together to finally, for the first time in human history, truly give us a full picture of human health.
Yeah, that's exactly right. One of my favorite analogies I've seen on this is like my 2017 Jeep Cherokee has like 35 sensors in it. And I'm going to replace that car in the next 2 years, right? Like my body, I get one my entire life. And I use one sensor on it. And like most people don't even use that. But your quality of life basically comes down to how well you manage this vehicle. And the great thing about the toilet is there's two places that every human being visits every single day. Their bed and their bathroom. And with the toilet, you don't need to wear anything, right? Like, real estate on my wrist or like, smart rings like the Aura Ring. There's only so many rings and wrist-worn devices that people are willing to accept in their lives, and you have to worry about charging them. With our device, it has a month-long battery life, and it's automatic, and as long as you have your phone with you when you go to the bathroom, which most of us do most of the time, it's like getting, insights automatically. So, yes, I take your point. There's like so many other fun things that we can do. Like, another example I love is the urine flow dynamics is not just interesting, right? Like every guy loves to be able to say like, that was the longest pee of my life. That like
Gamify peeing.
The first question everyone asks is like, where's the leaderboard? But like, there's actually incredibly relevant information in that, which is that 50% of men by age 50 and 80% of men by age 70 have what's called benign prostatic hyperplasia, which is non-cancerous enlargement of the prostate that makes it harder and harder to pee as you get older, which is like why stereotypically grandpa starts waking up in the middle of the night to go pee, BPH. And right now, the standard of care for BPH or the state of the art rather, is you typically don't know that you have it until you become clinically symptomatic. And then you go in and see your doctor refers you to a urologist, and then the urologist says, you have BPH. And, you either have like staccato flow where it's like spurts coming out in spurts, or you're just noticing that like, you're not able to pee quickly and it takes you 2 minutes to empty your bladder, or you're waking up in the middle of the night called nocturia. And by that point, you're typically looking at a clinical intervention or a surgical intervention where they're going to go in and either remove part of your prostate or insert a stent or, God forbid, a catheter. And I think that what we've built with Throne, because we can measure urine flow and the peak flow rate, like that's the number one metric for prostate health. And if we can identify these signs of deteriorating flow rate before it becomes clinically symptomatic, there are activities you can do, like Kegels, pelvic floor exercises. You can take supplements over the counter that help slow the progression of BPH and could keep you out of surgery for years, longer than you might otherwise. And like, that is so exciting to me because that's like the perfect analogy is like diabetes versus pre-diabetes, right? Once you're diagnosed with diabetes, you are now managing diabetes for the rest of your life. Whereas if you identify pre-diabetes, you can do lifestyle and dietary changes that can reverse that course before you ever become diabetic full blown. And it's 100 times cheaper and you're healthier and happier. And so like having these monitors to passively identify these patterns before they, breach our conscious perception can have such a huge impact on your quality of life in the back half of your life.
I see the vision. I know Sam sees it. And I mean, just from hearing from you, the impact that it could have on people, not just in a lifestyle change within a week that they can make from their little report that they get, to years down the road, the impact that could have. And then I just go to think, it's like only up to recently I've been taping my poop more seriously. Like I always thought, like, yeah, it's a thing I do as a human, right? We sweat, we sleep, like we also go to the bathroom. And like, I never, obviously when you have diarrhea, you're like, oh, something's wrong. I'll just drink a little bit more water. Maybe I won't eat or drink as much as I did the previous day. And then I like go on with my life. And almost I got to the point where I'm not even thinking twice about it. I never even thought that, oh, I'll look at my poop like, okay, that was whatever it was. Flush it down the toilet and that's it. But then I also go to the thought, to your point about a Whoop or a tracker that we have, like fitness trackers have been around for decades, right? A lot smarter now than they used to be. How has this never been something that people even thought about? I imagine it's because it's a little taboo, right? It's poop.
Yeah, great question. So, short answer is people have talked about this and thought about this also for decades, but there hasn't been what I would consider a credible attempt at this for a number of reasons. The first is, to your point, is taboo, right? Like my co-founder Tim and I, we first talked about this at a poker game in 2021, and then like joked about it for 2 years before we actually took it seriously. Like you have to unpeel so many layers of this onion, like a lot of bad jokes and puns before you actually see the nugget of like, holy shit, this could actually really meaningfully improve people's lives and potentially save lives. Like
Pun
it took
intended there,
me,
by the way.
yeah, it took me 2 years to get there, right? So I totally understand why a lot of people, their first reaction when they see this is dismissive laughter. Like that was mine. So I think that's a big piece of this is just the nature of it is so lowbrow in a sense, right? That said, the other piece of it is that the technology just wasn't here because we were using computer vision. And the alternative is, Sam, you mentioned like taking a blood test. The alternative is like, taking stool tests or like there's dipsticks that you can put in your urine and measure, different analyte concentrations in your urine, but they're gross. People hate doing anything that involves, collecting samples from the bathroom. Like that is one of the worst user experiences you could possibly ask another person to do. And to have the technology that allows us to do what's called remote sensing, right, which is like non-contact measurement, measuring aspects of your waste without actually having a sensor poke it and prod it, has been the unlock for us because that's what allows us to have a hands-free automatic user experience. And like all of that really only became possible with this latest wave of AI innovation since like 2020.
It's the perfect time for all this to finally happen, right? From a technology standpoint, I mean, Scott, I can only imagine your product roadmap like changing probably every 2 weeks just from what technology and computer vision advancements and AI can now add more metrics and more predictions to what you can actually give people. So, Godspeed. I'm sure that's fun to keep up with. But in addition, I think biohacking has become much more normal, especially for our generation. And I think that's happened for a few different reasons. I think knowledge is power. We now, through social media, are able to learn more. I think being healthy is sexy and cool now. And I also think, and I'm sure some doctors will give me some slack for this, much love, but they've had to run it very much like a business, right? I was telling Parker the other day, I went in for my annual physical, new doctor, great guy, super nice. Went in, it was one of the boutique concierge doctors. I expected a lot more than I got before. Guy didn't even touch me, right? Did not look. We took the blood test. He talked to me, and like I'm used to, the hammer on the knee and the reflexes and all this stuff. There was nothing, and so I think there's almost this little bit of frustration that a lot of people, myself included, have had with the medical system of you guys aren't preventative. You're not teaching me anything new. You're not looking out for me. You're saying come in when something is wrong. And that's not the life I want to live. I want to be in charge of my own health. I want to be preventative. I want to try to fix things because, to be perfectly honest, you guys aren't, and I don't trust you anymore. And so maybe I'm like a little bit out there in a conspiracy theorist, but I'm like, I'd rather be on top of my own stuff myself. Like, give me the data. AI, like, I had a medical issue the other day. This is probably not, I'm not a doctor. Don't take my advice, Elevation Nation. But I had a medical issue. I started just typing into ChatGPT all the different things I was feeling, what was going on. It connected a medical issue that I went to the hospital for my sophomore year of college to symptoms that I'm having now as a prolonged and very typical cause that happens from this issue. It tied that together. I would have never thought of that myself. And so I think as technology continues to advance, I'm feeling excited because I'm finally feeling empowered with my own health.
So everything you said, just yes, 1,000 times yes, right? I think culturally, it's not just biohacking. Consumer health is having a moment. You look at the Whoops and Auras and Fitbits and Apple Watch and even the blood testing companies like Function. Consumers are buying $500 MRIs from Ezra. Like this is all happening now because, to your point, not that the American health system is bad, but it's not preventive. It is heavily reactive, and people don't want to get sick, right? The vision of health that I have, that I think so many people share, is the future of health is no nasty surprises. And that's it. And right now, doctors exist primarily to remediate nasty surprises. You have a symptom, you take it to ChatGPT, you come up with your own hypothesis, and then you go to a doctor to get effectively a second opinion at that point. That is how people interact with the American healthcare system in 2025. And so many people use their wearables and then take screenshots of their wearables, upload that to ChatGPT, and then take that analysis to their doctor. And we already have beta testers on Throne doing the same thing, right? Like, to your point about, impacting just one person's life, one of my favorite stories is like, we had a guy basically say, what we were talking about with the nocturia, he was like, I didn't realize that I was waking up in the middle of the night to go pee until it showed up in my Throne data, and then I uploaded screenshots to ChatGPT and had a conversation with Chat, and it recommended me a bunch of supplements, and I've added those supplements to my routine, and guess what? I don't wake up to pee anymore. And like, that seems like such a small thing, but like that's the canary in the coal mine, right? We're going to have millions of people doing this with Throne data in a very short people time, or a very short amount of time. And already people are doing this with every other wearable under the sun. And, I think the long term where this is going to go is some company is going to hoover all of these up and put them all into one system so they're all talking to each other. And they're able to do predictive analytics, be able to say, okay, based on what we're seeing with your gut health data and your respiratory rate and your cardio, it looks like you might be at elevated risk for, XYZ disease. Let's get you a blood test right now. Like, that's where this is headed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they all talk to each other, it's going to be incredible. And Scott, I'm going to give you my next idea that probably already exists. I'll only take 5% for this idea. I think your next company should be called Fridge, to help me track what snacks I take out of my fridge, so I don't have to write them down. And it just
What about the
automatically
pantry?
Pantry, we can call it all of it. Whatever, take your pick. Just scan it for me. I always forget to write it down. Get the metric, like just tell me how much of something I ate, and then you can get the data of what goes in and what comes out. So, all right, there you go. That's my idea.
Basically, you just need a camera in your mouth, Sam, at that point.
Yeah.
How about that?
I'd be like, dude, stop eating so much. Yeah.
I know a guy who's built a necklace camera for exactly this purpose, which is kind of a cool idea.
That's wild. Okay, so you wear the necklace. It tracks literally what you're I feel like we're going to you see the contacts, the AR and all that type of stuff. Who knows what's going to come from it. But Scott, I mean, obviously incredible story, amazing I can't wait to see it. Like I want to hold it physically one day. I want to literally put it first of all on my toilet and then tell everyone about it because I'm so enthralled by the mission and what you guys are doing. But I imagine building something in a space it almost feels like a blue ocean for you, right? I mean, I've never seen this. I've never heard about this ever. Your days are probably full of just everything. And Sam and I at Elevation Nation, we talk all about mindset. You said your whole life, when you gave us your elevator pitch earlier, your whole life is Throne right now. How are you leaning on your mindset each day to help you get through the inevitable failures that come, the hardships that come, but also which will lead you to some good successes as well?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I had a friend share with me once that entrepreneurship is a personal growth exercise masquerading as a money-making opportunity. And I think that is 1000% true. I cannot overstate how much personal growth I have endured in the last 2 years building Throne by force and necessity because I just recognized that my mentality, my attitude, the energy I show up with to the office is so critical. And like when I have a good day, I have a strong presence. I know that about myself. When I'm having a good day, people can feel it. When I'm having a bad day, people can feel it. And it is incumbent upon me to manage my emotions and my attitude. And if I wake up on the wrong side of the bed, I got to get that right before I step foot in the office because I can't come in here and poison the well. And it doesn't matter what's happening around me. It doesn't matter if things aren't going as well as I'd like them to go. The reality is they're going the way that they are going, and the buck stops with me. And I have to maintain an attitude of gratitude and say, you know what, this is just another mountain to climb. Like, I'm going to enjoy the view from the top, but right now I'm looking up the side of a mountain, and I like mountain climbing. Yeah, I mean, it really is just that. It's this mentality of self-management.
Parker and I are writing in our show notes like,
I was
holy
like, that's
shit,
an
I love
awesome
that
perspective.
phrase.
Yeah. It's a great perspective on it.
I mean, entrepreneurship has been the biggest challenge and the biggest blessing of our lives. And I'm laughing a little bit internally because you said it disguised as a money making ploy. Parker and I don't even pretend at that point. Like, we're just like, no, the money part, we'll figure that out later. Right now, it's just the challenge and the joy of using the podcast. I tell every young person that comes to Parker and I for advice, high school, college kids, what's the biggest piece of advice I give them? Start a podcast or some way to meet new people outside your social circle so that you can have different perspectives and expand your network. It has been the number one blessing for us. And the challenge has been doing it with your best friend and trying to figure out ways to grow and scale a business, from our public speaking and workshops that we now do around the country to community events in person. I can't wait till we throw one in Austin, Scott, and get to have you come out to it. But that's been the challenge, and it has been a slow burn. But God, has it helped us grow into the young men that we wanted to be, and I would not have it any other way. I think entrepreneurship is that gift that, again, you help one person and you helped yourself. Whether it makes $1 billion or not, that is what brings me the joy and fulfillment. And I know for Scott, you're feeling the same way. And I just love that mindset piece. I guess I'm curious, right? You mentioned you got to keep your head on straight. You got to stay positive in the office. What do you do when you're having those moments of despair? Is there someone that you go to that you can kind of vent in a private space? Like, I have Parker. He has to deal with my shit, but he talks me off a ledge. Right? Who do you have that's kind of in your corner to help you?
Oh, that's my dad.
Mm.
My dad's a serial entrepreneur. He's one of my best friends. I talk to him 2-3 times a day. He's my lifting partner. We work out together. Like, he has been through it all. He's been through it worse than I have. And like, he's come out the other side, and through all of this, like, has been, a rock.
Love it. I mean, having someone who, in your case, your dad, who knows you your entire life, or knows you as probably better than you know yourself in some cases, like, be there for you, I imagine is very helpful. It's pretty incredible. I have to ask about the journal, though. You mentioned it earlier. What are your prompts? Like, what are we writing down on a daily basis? You said this is your religious practice.
Oh yeah, I don't miss a day. And if I do miss a day, I don't beat myself up over it, but I try not to miss a day. But yeah, so it's every day there's a handful of prompts. One is, what am I grateful for? And there's three lines. And then, what would make today great? And I just use that as my to-do list. Like, what are the things I got to knock out today to have it be a great, successful day? And this is something that, talking about my dad, like, from a very young age, he always said, if I just get 3 things done in a day, it was a good day. And I think that is so true. And in entrepreneurship, when there's 10,000 things you can do in any given day, just to have the focus and say, okay, like, this is the clarity of mind of, these are the 3 things that actually need to get done. And then at the end of the day, I'm going to go back and grade my paper. And sometimes priorities shift, and like, that's okay. But it's good to know, here are the things I thought I was going to get done today versus here are the things that actually got done. And, so I write those down. And then there's a line for positive affirmation. I write down 4 every single day. And then in the evenings, there's room for good things that happened today and then what I learned today. And I'll be totally candid with you, I don't always fill those out. This is mostly for me a morning exercise. So I try and retroactively fill out what happened last night. But like, I'm not sitting down and journaling evening and morning. It's just this is with my coffee.
It's a beautiful habit. One, Parker and I love practicing ourselves, and even just 2-3 minutes of time in your own brain without a distraction, I think, is 2 to 3 minutes more than most of society does. So for Elevation Nation out there listening for ways to ground yourself and continue to elevate your mindset, that is a 2 to 3 minute practice that I don't want to hear the excuses. You can find 2 to 3 minutes. And if not, Parker and I will buy you a journal. So we'll give you all the tools that you need. Scott, I want to move us on to our rapid fire segment. We got a couple quick random questions we want to throw your way. Are you ready, my friend?
Please.
Okay. With Throne, right? New business, up and coming. You guys are crushing it. We know how important marketing and breaking this taboo is to modern society. So if you could pick a celebrity, fictional, a real person, a character from a TV show, movie, whatever it may be, to be a brand ambassador for Throne, do you have a dream collaboration that you'd like there?
Yeah, it's a tie between Oprah and Ryan Gosling.
I like both of those people. Okay. I think it would be a hit. Hit all the
It
demos
would be
right
a
there.
hit. Oh yeah. All right, my rapid fire. I have a couple. Like Sam, I feel like we got to go through these. They're pretty funny, but also fun. It was a good one, Sam. Yours was good too. All right, Scott. If your gut could whisper one piece of advice to your brain, what would it be?
So the number one thing I've learned about my gut using Throne is that stress is the biggest driver of my gut health, right? When I'm stressed, it shows up in my gut health. When I was fundraising, my gut health was like all over the map. As soon as I closed the fundraise, like life went back to regular. So if I had to, if my gut could whisper one thing to my brain, it'd be calm down.
I think it's beautiful, right? Stress, people think is now just part of our everyday life. And so it's nice to have some metrics that back it up. Like, dude, calm down. You're hurting your tummy.
It's everyone hears about the gut brain axis, but like actually seeing it show up in my own data was
Yeah.
surreal.
The second brain of the gut. I know I didn't even get to nerd out on all those stuff. We'll take it offline, Scott. Okay, next one. We talked a little bit about the product roadmap. Technology's evolving. Computer vision abilities are evolving rapidly. Is there a dream statistic, a piece of data analysis that you are hoping one day through technology Throne will be able to help uncover for people?
Yeah, fecal occult blood. So that is one of the earliest signs of colorectal cancer. There are a lot of things that can cause fecal occult blood. You know, not just colorectal cancer. It can be hemorrhoids, fissures, fistulas, ulcers, like all sorts of stuff. The thing that I'm really excited about, though, is right now the current standard of care is this thing called a fecal immunochemical test, where you take a sample of your stool, ship it off to a lab, wait 2 to 4 weeks, get your results back, and then it tells you if there's blood in your stool or not. But you only took that one sample, and most people won't even do that. We can sample every single time you go to the bathroom in real time and look at the pattern of bleeding over the course of the last month or two. And so if you have a transient bleed, right, that could be a hemorrhoid. That's just like not nearly as concerning as bleeding that increases monotonically over the course of a couple months, because, you know, if the bleeding gets worse and worse and more severe, then you want to like throw up the yellow flag and be like, hey, go get this looked at. And, you know, not this device. This device does not do that, but we have a version in the lab right now that, you know, that'll be a future release that is about 100 times more sensitive than that fecal immunochemical test we were talking about. You know, these are not clinically validated numbers, so don't quote me on this. You know, this is not marketing, but this is, you know, early results indicate that we will be able to do that, and that is the thing that's going to save lives. Like, that is so exciting to me, is being able to see blood that is invisible to the naked eye. And if we can do that, the world will be materially better.
It's exciting. That is very exciting. All right. Last rapid fire, Scott, I got for you. Besides a bathroom, what's the most surprising place you ever had a breakthrough idea?
Ooh. Poker table. Easy, right? Like,
there you
go. The name Throne was born at the poker table. Tim was like, hey, smart toilets. And I was like, clearly you would name that company Throne. And I would never have guessed that, you know, 4 years later, we'd have a handy dandy little box with a product that we'd made in it. That's wild.
Hell yes.
So I don't know if you ended up winning money that poker game, but I think you came out on top no matter what, because the idea was born, and look at you now, man.
Well, I appreciate that. I definitely lost money. I'm terrible at poker.
Fair enough. All right, Scott, our final question, man. This has been a pleasure. As I said, we're going to have to find more time to just hang out and nerd out and talk ideas and brainstorm together, but I want to be respectful of your time. We end every episode with something we call a mental motto. It's a phrase, a quote, a slogan that embodies who you are and how you live your life. Over 250 elevators have come onto the podcast and shared their mental motto with us, and thousands of young, incredible people across the globe as we speak with them in our workshops and our keynotes. And so, Scott, we want to ask you, man, what is your mental motto?
And so one of the things that I write in my journal every single day is I'm a fount of good energy. And I try and live up to that, you know. It's not every day, but I think if I can live up to that more days than not, it's been a good life.
Did you say that on purpose because of the Good Energy book that Sam and I both read that inspired this whole world for us?
No. But I'm familiar with the book. It's Casey Means, and
Yep.
I have been meaning to read it.
Yes. Do you
Well,
already
if you
have it?
do you have it? Yeah, I was gonna say, because if not, Parker and I would love to send you a copy as a thank you. Because Scott, I mean, you are an incredible man, and what you're doing to help make the world a better place is inspiring, and it's always so refreshing when we get to meet incredible entrepreneurs that are trying to make the world better and elevate themselves and other people. And so, man, I'm just so grateful we got connected with you.
Likewise, Parker, Sam.
Well, I was
thank
going to
you all.
say, last thing is, I was going to hope your mental motto might have been listen to your gut. You've been wearing it on your hat the whole time. So that would have been too easy. But the other mental motto you gave is much better, I think.
No, this is just, good swag.
Good swag.
Great swag.
Good swag. All right, Elevation Nation. Until next week, peace.
Peace.